It's nice to be in front of the cameras where I can smile and maybe show a different side, not here talking to you about border protection matters, etc. Called out for the pain, suffering and hurt of these stolen generations, their descendants and for their families left behind, we say sorry. A few years ago, we said that we would stop the boats and that we would defend our borders and that we would restore integrity.
I guess it's still an open question in terms of what percentage of the particular community, in this case the Sudanese community, is doing the wrong thing.
Our family does not employ an au pair. My wife takes very good care in my absence, I might say.
You've sent that Mad Witch text to the Mad Witch and he was more than happy to apologise right away.
It was an early morning raid. Piria was preparing milk for Tarnika. 20 Border Force officers and so-called guards stormed their house. They were given 15 minutes to pack their belongings. Piria was not even allowed to change the children's clothes.
No allowed the baby in my hand. Everywhere police, but I don't know why come to my house.
I just swooped in and grabbed the hubby and then the wife and took the kids as well away from the wife. They were all separate. Thrown in the car and headed off.
And Nadez and Priya and the girls were taken, and we just knew we had to throw everything we had at getting them home.
I've lived in a lot of rural towns in Queensland, but Biloela...
Until they signed voluntary deportation documents.
I just couldn't believe that that was the way that we did things in Australia, to be honest. And I wasn't the only one. Everyone who knew the family felt the same. We need to let people know that they're still in Australia.
That's where the fire for the campaign came from.
And that we need to get this family back home.
And we launched the petition, Bring Them Home to Biloela.
We're calling on Peter Dutton, intervene and stop this madness. Let's actually step up and do the right thing here.
Because they are such a conservative town, I think there were some people who agreed with the government's asylum seeker policies and the government's decisions on refugees, but I think the majority of residents really wanted them to come home and supported them.
We weren't trained in any sort of activism or campaigning or anything like that, so we absolutely were flying blind for a lot of it.
I've come here tonight from Biloela in central Queensland. I guess our question tonight is, what more could we do to ensure that Priya, Nadis, Kopika and Thanika return home to Biloela?
Outside of the very complicated legal jargon, this is actually just a story of a man, his wife and their 2 Australian-born daughters and a little country town in central Queensland that wants them back. We fundraise money to start with to put a billboard with a picture of the family in Peter Dutton's electorate. and we have been fundraising to help to pay the legal bills. And as we continued to do that, people all around Australia and the world started to listen up and take notice.
The family remained in detention in Melbourne for almost a year and a half.
Autocracy is challenging the rules-based order our grandparents had secured.
And an even blunter warning.
The only way that you can preserve peace is to prepare for war.
Provocative, most definitely. And with the Prime Minister yesterday describing any Chinese military bases in Solomon Islands as
our red line.
Labor's seeking an urgent briefing on exactly how Australia would respond. The coalition's gone from talking about the Pacific as a family to mentioning defence red lines in the course of just a week, showing how seriously Australia and its allies are viewing the controversial security pact between Solomon Islands and China.
Those who have fallen in wars gone by. There's the possibility of conflict close to home that's been dominating this election campaign as tensions with China reach an all-time high. Defence Minister Peter Dutton joins us now from Sanford Valley in Queensland. Pete, good morning to you. It's always such a big and important day, isn't it? Okay, the Prime Minister this morning, and you're 100% right about all of that, the Prime Minister this morning in Darwin also mentioned this new threat. The arc of autocracy, he called it when he addressed the huge crowds that were in Darwin. Tell us about that and your main concerns in regard to that on this Anzac Day. How are you going to handle that? Because, look, I know it's difficult to talk about this on Anzac Day, but it is happening. You're setting up a red line in the Solomons. I'm sure our diggers, it sends a shiver down their spine when they look at the potential of all of this. But how will you possibly stop it?
Well, Carl, the only way that you can preserve peace is to prepare for war. And to
prepare for war is pretty provocative.
The Liberal Party is now the West Coast Eagles of politics. Do you take, I mean, they get smashed in every position. Do you take any joy in their demise?
No, but what I would say is they've become quite a fringe group, and they're sort of controlled by these sort of extremist factional power brokers. They don't have very talented people in the parliament, both state and federal, and they seem to be off on niche issues and arguing with each other rather than, promoting the interests of the state and the people of the state. They're not the party that they were when I was first elected. When I was first elected with Richard Court and Colin Barnett and people like Matthias Cormann and people like that, they were a very different party. These days, Julie Bishop, these days, they don't appeal to the mainstream. They're out on the fringe. They're more inclined to pursue their own hobby horses rather than listen to what the public wants. And I think that reflects in the vote in Curtin and the vote around the state. And I actually don't think they're fit for government, certainly at a state level, for a long time to come. We sell, I just want to understand, it's both economic and security argument. We, as a state, export half of the nation's exports. And the vast majority of that goes to China because it's the biggest market. And so iron ore, gas, lots of other mineral products, lots of agricultural products go to China. So having a good relationship with your biggest customer is kind of important. I'm the son of a small businessman. My dad ran a business for most of my life. Working with your customers is an important thing, and making sure your customers have a warm regard for you is an important thing. And then there's the security arrangement. Well, we are a country that is at the southern end of the world, and the biggest power in our region is China. Our strongest ally is and will remain the United States. But that doesn't mean you have a hostile relationship with China. You can have a very strong relationship with the United States and Britain and our other allies, and a productive relationship with China, in which the differences are dealt with diplomatically. What we saw over the federal election campaign was the Liberal Party tried to weaponise these things for political purposes. I haven't seen that done since before I was born, since the 1960s. That's what used to happen back in the Cold War. I just urge a reset on the relationship. It will be good for us if it is reset to a more diplomatic and at least we can talk to them rather than this sort of megaphone diplomacy. Peter Dutton was the principal one out there talking about war and war footing and conflict and so forth. That's absolutely crazy. We're a country of 25 million people. China's a country of 1.4 billion people with nuclear weapons. Why would a mainstream political party be talking about that? So all I'd say is let's just have a sensible, strong relationship with China and continue our strong alliance with the United States and Britain.
Do you want to see just on Dutton, do you have any thoughts about the likelihood that he's going to be the new Liberal opposition leader?
Oh, well, apparently he will be. He's an extremist. He's an extremist. And I don't think he fits with modern Australia at all. And he doesn't seem to listen. He's extremely conservative. I actually don't think he's that smart. I've seen him present on things. I don't really pick up there's much there.
Do you want to see...
As opposed to Morrison, Scott Morrison, is a clever guy. I don't pick up that Peter Dutton is fit to be Prime Minister.